This is from Illuminati Part 1, my 2009 video. The repost has 3,619 views, 44 thumbs up, and 5 thumbs down.
So there is obvious connections of white people stealing black ideas, okay? Egypt is a Greek word meaning...
Alright, so basically I talk about a white man steals the ideas and twists them. And for those of you who have really been doing your research, you know that a lot of DNA evidence and different stuff has come out to prove that fact. And I go into this in a lot more depth in other videos. I've always seen it the same way. On record, you know, I've been to the psych ward and all this stuff, and my view has always been the same. There isn't a shred of evidence that psychiatrists are actually trying to help people, not just me. But there is an abundance of evidence that what they're doing is to drug people, to make money, and to play them out as crazy, more so than they already are. It's like, well, you know, you have a troublemaker, right? And you say, well, you're going to have to drink alcohol every day till you're drunk. Well, then they come off as a drunk, you know? And people are like, oh, that guy, he's just a drunk. You know, when you're on psych meds, it's like, oh, he's on psych meds. It really doesn't even matter the circumstances that led up to you taking psych meds anymore after that, when you're on psych meds, because now you're that guy on psych meds, you know. And pretty much everybody understands this to a certain extent, that these are powerful drugs, and they don't really help people function. And you constantly have to repeat things to these people. They'll be like, huh? Like, oh, you know, it's over here, it's over here. And you see that at the psych wards and hospitals as well, when they're dealing with these people. It's kind of like dealing with a senile old lady or something. So, yes, you know, not only were my views always socially normative, out of 49 people that either press like or dislike, 44 of them, okay, that's over 88% of them, that's almost 90% of them, about 90% of them put like. So 90% of the people who put like or dislike saw it my way and liked my video. Around 10% of them didn't like it. They might have agreed that I was right, but they didn't like it because they didn't like this information getting exposed. Or maybe they didn't agree. So you see what I'm saying? That right there is definitive proof that my views are more than just socially normative. The vast majority of people that came across my videos do not think that I'm crazy. And Illuminati Part 1, this is the title, Illuminati Part 1, Ancient Egyptian Wisdom is Black African Collected by Ancient Eurocentrics. That screams a conspiracy, right? A conspiracy that has been maintained for hundreds of years, if not thousands. And it's pretty central to everything I say, from my martial artist challenge to Benny Hassan being the first depiction of martial arts, first known depiction. I mean, just everything, it all goes back to Illuminati Part 1. You know, psychiatry, who's doing it? It's these secret societies behind psychiatry. You know, the Scottish Rite on record, according to the psychiatrist even, Colin A, his book, The C.I.A. Doctors, and he went through the 15,000 MKUltra documents. It took him quite some time. The Scottish Rite on record, according to him, funded MKUltra. So there's a solid connection between unethical experimentation, psychiatry, and secret societies, especially Freemasonry. An unavoidable connection. And even without that, we know that Masons are interested in science. Francis Galton, the eugenicist, the scientific lodge, the connection with eugenics. So no shit, there's a whole lot of psychiatrists who are Freemasons. Anyone who doesn't understand that is a fucking moron, just a completely out of touch. Gone. You know? And when I say that, I mean, if you haven't thought about it before, I don't blame you. But if I say that and you say, well, that couldn't be the case after I just explained it like that, that's what I'm referring to. Anyone who doesn't understand that after I've just pointed it out the way I have is a fucking moron. They're gone. Their mind is gone. Just blank. Just not there. Out of touch. So, obviously Freemasons with their Egyptian symbolism and their, masonry, and they talk about the Temple of Solomon and the connection between Egypt, Ethiopia, and Solomon, the Queen of Sheba. It's just very straightforward. Very, very straightforward. And then when you look at me, I don't look too healthy in that picture because I was a recovering alcoholic. Okay? So what you're going to see naturally is that I would be recovering more and more and more. But instead, they started the psych med regimen, and I was being drugged more and more and more. So I used to smoke weed. I used to be a drunk. I've been on and off psych meds. I understand being sober versus being intoxicated or under the influence of some substance or another. Very well. Any of you who heard me claim that I was being covertly drugged, who didn't believe it, is pretty much a fucking moron, okay? I don't think in my entire life, I have never met a single person who claims to have been covertly drugged who wasn't. In my entire life. I've been to reform school. I've been to psych wards. I've been to outpatient. It's never happened. The thought that somebody would claim that and you would automatically assume that they're wrong is ridiculous. There are people who are pretty out of touch who are mental patients, and if they told me that, I would be inclined to believe them, much less someone with a college degree as articulate and cogent as myself. And then, of course, when you have the witnesses, 11 witnesses, one of them did the experiment with the covert drugging, it becomes so far-fetched that someone wouldn't believe it. Just absolute nonsense. And remember, the main reason I'm playing this, pay very close attention, is to show you that I was put in the targeted individual program because I was trying to help people out. Illuminati Part 1 isn't about me being the top martial artist. Illuminati Part 1 isn't about my experiences being abused by psychiatrists. It's the psychiatric abuse I went through. Illuminati Part 1 is about morality, ancient wisdom, and secret societies. And it's about the psychological effect on society of the Eurocentrics, the Freemasons, and the mystery schools, quote unquote, twisting history. The psychological effect of their twisting history. So I'm like, look, they're lying to you, you're buying it, and you're headed down a wrong path as a result. That's what it's about. It directly challenges mental health without even mentioning them, because they're reinforcing the social norms that have been put into place by these secret societies. It directly challenges the people in charge, mental health, the white racists who claim Egypt was white, even though it's beyond laughable, right? Not only was it united by the bottom half of Egypt or Upper Egypt, but Nekkin is really where the civilization started. Everything about it is African. The names are African. These guys aren't they don't have Viking names. They don't have Britain names. They don't have Saxon names. They don't have Roman names. They have African names. I mean, there is nothing about it that would even slightly suggest European culture. Europe is far away. Had to cross the fucking Mediterranean, But there in Africa, you have a river that's bringing people up. It's flowing from south to north. I mean, everything screams African. The river brought the soldiers that invaded Lower Egypt, or the top half. Nekkin was the center of civilization, and it was at the bottom part of Egypt. That's where Horus is, the patron of Nekkin. the righteous war god went, inspired Narmer to invade the top half of Egypt. Okay? Where the minor temples, the minor temples in the Delta region. So you have all these kind of colonists types, some of them were Indo-European, some of them were Semites, but they're settling in the Delta region. And then you have these black Africans moving upwards. That's why it was split in the first place. It was not just a cultural split. It was also an ethnic divide. So the more black people invaded the less black people and united the two lands. To turn around and pretend like this is a Semitic or a European empire is preposterous. I'm part Semitic, I'm part fucking white. And I'm telling you, that is absurd. They may as well have been invaded from Nigeria. I mean, come on, read a book now. That's the white man is notorious for ignoring this phrase, root cause. The white man, the white feminist, the Jew feminist, because they're the root cause of the problem, and black people are the root cause of civilization. So these people ignore the root cause and twist everything, and it has a powerful psychological effect. I mean, it's a no fucking brainer. Can you imagine some mini-me's, coming into the most fertile section of Africa and conquering it? They didn't conquer anything. They settled. Okay, it was the 15th dynasty when the Hyksos came, and the foreign period when the whites came after that. And the Hyksos, on record, came during a turbulent period in Egyptian history. They didn't come in and beat up a whole bunch of big black guys with clubs and spears. Best archers in the known world. Oh gosh, read a book. They had to wait till they had fucking Greco-Roman armor and come in the foreign period. And the Greeks, they needed the army of Rome, the most powerful empire in the in the European part of the world, in the ancient world, okay, in antiquity, the ancient, the foreign period, were the ones who were the muscle for the Greeks. White people never manned up and came in and took on a bunch of Kimbo Slices, Mike Tysons, and fucking Chukwuemekas. Oh gosh, you gotta love the sense of humor that these people have or don't have. Yeah, a bunch of fucking Bill Gates types motherfuckers, and David Rockefellers and their geek chess club, invaded Egypt and pushed the blacks south. Look at the map, buddy. The whites who came across the Mediterranean, we gave them the sand. Like, look, we have the Nile. Okay? We have the Nile, the inundation of the Nile. We grow crops here. You Indo-European bitches, go play in the sand in Libya, bitch. Go play in Morocco. Read a fucking book. Can you imagine the ancient version of me being pushed back by some Bill Gates mini-me pussy? Need I remind you that blacks are only 12 to 13% of America, and we are the greatest warriors in American history at ancient combat. I'm the top martial artist. Not some Ichabod Crane, and not some Bill Gates type bitch. The thought that you pussies believe that pisses me off. Go play in your sandbox. Leave the fertile part of Africa to the greatest warriors, including Egypt, which we united. A bunch of pencil-dick cowards. Come on, use your head. In all seriousness, I was put into the gang stalking program, or the targeted individual program, because I stood up for people. I was trying to set the record straight about the white establishment and the sneaky stuff they do behind the scenes with their clandestine groups.
Okay, a few deities are important, Molech and Baal, and I'll get into them later. Also, Osiris, Horus, and Amun-Ra. Now, whites long ago, the Greeks specifically, used to go to Egypt and learn, including Herodotus, They used to travel down the rivers, the many rivers they have there. And
all right, anyway, I was talking about the Nile Delta. I didn't have the word. It was like the estuaries. I still don't know what the correct word is, but the delta streams or whatever. Anyway. So I'm talking about the Jews, right? How they worship Molech and Baal in the Old Testament, well, some of them. And I'm talking about whites. I'm talking about secret societies. That's why I was targeted. Okay? 44 thumbs up, 5 thumbs down. Okay? I'm not one of those people who started making videos after I was targeted. I was targeted for doing the right thing. Something most of you know nothing about. You think I didn't know that these people were going to give me a hard time for doing it? You think I didn't see this coming? You know, I have a blue rag hanging in the background. You understand me? You think I didn't know that I was headed for trouble? They were going to see the significance of somebody who at the time, you know, was gangbanging or whatever, you know, going against them. They saw the potential for me to unite the streets against them and to stop fighting, the black gangs fighting each other. They don't want Crips, to, you know, to start being kind of like Shaniko Shakur, you know, and being like, oh, I'm going to unite the black people together against the Illuminati. They don't want that to happen, especially not as uncontrolled. They said, who is this guy? And all the, you know, controlled people were like, we don't know this guy. You know? And that forced the black Masons to look into their connections in the streets and their informants and say, well, who is this guy? Who is this guy? And once they started doing that, they started identifying my network and systematically, one by one, turning them against me, doing the research into my close friends and network, finding where they're vulnerable, you know, and so on. So I knew this was going to happen. I mean, you know, when I said I'm targeted, I was like, look, you know, excuse me, when I said I wasn't surprised to be targeted, I would be surprised if I was not targeted. You know, I'm talking about the people in charge, the two main racial groups in charge and their private clubs. You know, their secret societies. And I'm completely lifting their dresses up. You know? I mean, I knew that there was going to be a response. It's physics, right? For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. I made an action in the name of good against evil scum, and they made actions against me. And the more I started to rise, the more they've acted against me. You might call it keeping the Masonic balance, you know, the yin-yang, the checkered floor. You might call it, you know, the Jachin and Boaz. You might call it the Masonic balance of life. Trying to balance out my great endeavor to set the record straight and to free the minds of people. I started off with where you should start. The first acknowledged great civilization. Not some individual culture like Sumer, but an acknowledged massive civilization that built some of the largest structures, if not the largest structures man has ever built. These huge pyramids, Sneferu, Khufu, Zoser, huge pyramids. Menkaure, the Hanging Pyramid, the Step Pyramid, the pyramids of Giza. I knew I was asking for trouble. And I knew that there was also people who knew more than I knew about Egypt and probably still know more than, you know, there's people who know more about Egypt than I do now. There's people who would feel like I'm in their lane. They're like, hey, that's my job. You know, who are controlled. You know, really the control guys are the most angry about it, right? They're like, look, I don't want to lose my viewers to you. I have a role to play in the New World Order. I knew I was stepping on a lot of toes, including black ones. I knew that. I knew there was even Bloods and other Crips who didn't want me to come off as a smart guy and a respectable guy. I mean, you don't understand. I knew very well. I'm used to being hated on. I'm used to having groups hate on me. I'm used to having groups plot against me. I mean, to act like someone who, you know, has had groups plot against him his entire life, police groups, community groups, you know, community watch organizations, you know, ninnies, you know, gang groups, okay, government watch groups, you know, or rather, you know, government groups, rather, that watch us. That's what I mean. And somebody who used to smoke weed and drink alcohol, you know, to act like I'm mistaken about what's going on when my whole life I've seen these things. I'm very well aware of the signs. I know what it's unmistakable. I know what it means to be sober. I know what it means to be intoxicated. I know what it means to be persecuted and hated on by groups. I knew what was going to happen. If you really look at some old Rolling 60 videos, there's one guy named Kev McIndoob. He says, we're the most hated gang. And it's not just them, you know. Crips are probably the most hated gang in America because it's that bell that rings the loudest. You ask an average person, from the South, an average white guy, have you heard of the Crips? They'll probably say yes. He said, well, have you heard of Sir 13 or Norte? They'll probably say no. Have you heard of GDs or Vice Lords? They'll probably say no. Because Crip is the name that is the most readily recognizable. Therefore, when people think about who they hate and who they're jealous of, who they want to be tougher than, that's what it is. So there was a lot of deeper political implications for me representing this, probably the most famous gang in the world, most famous street gang in the world. It's because of Snoop Dogg and what have you, and other things, the riots, and there's a few things. Anyway, and challenging the people in charge and pulling their cards. You also got to realize they're threatened. Imagine if you're a bunch of geeks in the chess club and a bunch of big black guys, with tattoos and machine guns and shit, start saying, you're a bunch of hoe-ass niggas that stole my motherfucking history. I may as well have put it like that. You see what I'm saying? Think about it. I knew there was going to be a response. And I knew it was going to be some bitch shit. I knew a bunch of geeks weren't going to step up to me and say, you know what? What you want to do, nigga? I knew they were going to do some bitch shit like this. You dig? And I'm not surprised in the slightest. I would be very surprised if nothing happened. These are insecure liars whose lies are being exposed. And this is the repost. The first post had over 10,000 views. This is the repost. I'm pulling these motherfuckers' cards. 90% of people who saw the video see it my way. And these are some psyop running bitches, some marketing, motherfuckers, commercials, billboard bitches, I mean, come on, man. Come on, man. These are some cops saying, keep it moving, pepper spraying political activist type bitches, putting political activists in makeshift fucking jail type hoes. These are some fucking Bull Connor, spraying Martin Luther King's followers with a fucking water hose type bitches. You understand me? Annie Mae type motherfuckers. You understand me? Some J. Edgar Hoover type scum. You think I didn't know what was up? I knew exactly what was gonna happen. And I'm a real nigga. That's why I came out like I'm with my blue flag hanging. I'm like, nigga, this crippin', nigga. What's up? Think you're gonna punk me for my history? What's cracking, homie? That's how I came at these bitches. But I toned it down so that people could see that I was intellectual. You understand me? There's what I said, and then there was the significance of it and the deeper meaning of it, which these esoteric bitches didn't miss for a moment.